On the news, victims of violence to receive compensation as Senate considers bill to establish Victim Support Fund. Controversy trails Samoa agreement as Senate urges federal government to suspend implementation. Plus, Senate screens nominee as Chief Executive Officer of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission cautions against consumer exploitation. More on this and other stories coming up this evening on NTA Parliament News. I am Amina Saidu. Senate is working on a legislation that will make provision for the payment of compensation to victims of violence. A bill to repeal and enact the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, sponsored by Senator Issa Jibrin, highlights the need to create a victim support fund to cater for victims of violence and to make more stringent punishment for offenders. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
The Violence Against Persons Prohibition Bill 2024 has embedded in it provisions for maximum protection and effective remedies for victims, as well as punishments for offenders.
The offense of rape needs particular attention. There is need to make a distinction between absence of consent and consent obtained by fraud, undue influence, and other unlawful means.
The punishment should be steep enough to deter commission of the offense.
It is the place of the Senate, the National Assembly, to protect the girl child and to protect minors in our society. We will take cognizance of cultural diversities, but we must protect our children.
It passed second reading and referred to Senate Committee on Justice, Human Rights and Legal Matters for further legislative action. Also passed at second reading is the Chartered Out-of-Home Media Practitioners Bill to further regulate advertising in Nigeria. Senate has adopted a motion urging the federal government to address food insecurity and market exploitation in Nigeria, as moved by Senator Sandy Karimi.
All effort made by the current Federal Executive to arrest the consistent increase in food inflation have not yielded the desired result. There need to be more pragmatic.
Currently, there are 4 countries, including Sudan and some others, that are facing very serious food insecurity. And Nigeria is added to this list this year.
Senate also advised the federal government to be considerate in implementing recommendations of the Oronsoye report, as winding down an agency could only be done through the repeal of the act by Parliament. The issue was raised by Senator Mohammed Onau.
The Oronsoye report is a committee report that should not override the act of Parliament.
Let the rule of law be followed to the latter. That while this repealing is going on, this streamlining is going on, that we should formally be notified.
Bring a bill to the National Assembly, and then those agencies will be repealed through that bill, and then they stand repealed.
Other features at plenary include the confirmation of Matthew Adepoju as Director General of National Space Research and Development Agency. In the meantime, Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Barrow Jibrin, has expressed optimism that President Bola Tinubu will assent to the bill seeking to establish the Northwest Development Commission, recently passed by the National Assembly. Lami Ali, NTA News.
The House of Representatives has urged the federal government to suspend the Samoa agreement it signed with the European Union to boost food security and economic development. The legislators voted in favor of the motion sponsored by Deputy Minority Leader Aliu Madaki and 88 others. National Assembly correspondent Mitari Ekpen reports.
Some clauses.
The last is yet to be heard on the federal government's Samoa agreement with the European Union. Lawmakers are seeking investigation into what they call supremacy clauses in the agreement.
Article 97 of the alleged agreement, which states no treaty, convention, agreement, or arrangement of any kind between one or more member states of OACPS members shall impede the implementation of this agreement. is seen as supremacy clause and thus violate Nigeria's sovereignty.
There is no portion of that agreement that talks about LGBTQ. In fact, 3 ministers have come out, including information, budget and planning, in public to say there was nothing like that in the agreement.
As a parliament, all we are saying is that we want to be satisfied that what the executive has told Nigerians is actually the true position of the facts.
Another investigation was launched into the resurgence of fuel queues in parts of the country.
There are also allegations of racketeering and favoritism in the pro-forma invoice system, otherwise known as the PFI regime.
The bill seeking special elective seats for women scaled second reading after robust debate.
This bill seeks, in fulfillment of that promise, to bring into Parliament seats where that will be statutory for women.
I believe that there's a broad consensus on the need for it.
Also appealing that you also should please help us and make this bill see the light of the day.
Accepting this bill is against democratic principle and is undermining the fundamental human right of those ones that are popular in their own constituencies, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I am telling you this should be rejected, but I can support women if there is a political positions appointed.
I do not know of any law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that stops a woman from contesting election or winning a seat in the House of Representatives. The ayes have it.
Bills seeking diaspora voting and timely execution of contracts also scaled second reading alongside other establishment bills.
To provide for the rights of Nigerian citizens living outside Nigeria to vote in certain elections conducted in Nigeria.
The purpose of this new provision is to reduce corruption, contract abandonment, waste of resources, and generally to forestall a situation where contractors treat government contracts with levity and disdain.
We have only one federal medical center in Kudu. So when this Malamudur Federal Medical Center been approved, it will help Briniwa, Megatari, Taura, Mega, Auyo, and Kafin Hausa.
The House passed 4 bills to establish the North Central Development Commission, Southwest Development Commission, Nigeria Correctional Service Trust Fund, and Federal Medical Center, Sabongida Ora, Edo State. Meanwhile, the management of the Niger Delta Development Commission presented a 2024 budget proposal of 1.9 trillion naira to the Green Chamber for consideration.
The actual figure.
From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
Meanwhile, stakeholders in solid mineral sector have underscored the importance of bitumen to the improvement of Nigerian economy when properly harnessed. National Assembly correspondent Isa Muhammad reports that this came to the fore at a public hearing convened by the Senate Committee on Solid Minerals as it seeks inputs on Bitumen Development Commission of Nigeria Establishment Bill.
From available statistics, Nigeria is second among countries with large deposits of bitumen, put at an estimate of 42 billion tons, but remains untapped, despite being an alternative to crude oil and agriculture in revenue generation. The sponsor of the bill, Senator Jimo Ibrahim, says with vast deposits of bitumen in Nigeria could be utilized to diversify the economy, hence the need to provide a legal framework on processing and utilization.
It's a financial resource-based bill that is very important to create employment, to address finance.
He says this will end importation of the product, promote local content, drive economic growth, create jobs, and increase Nigeria's GDP, among other benefits. Stakeholders in the mining sector were in agreement that the initiative will further direct policy attention to fast-track exploration, just as they pointed to some areas of concern in proposed legislation.
We of this Ondo State government hereby presents and support the establishment of the Bitumen Development Commission. This, we hope, is going to address the issues stemming the strategic development, management, and regulation of this resource in Nigeria.
Apart from providing jobs, it's going to work in favor of security enhancement in Nigeria. Because when people are working, they will not have time to commit any evil.
I'm very happy about this bill, that this bill is coming up this time.
I want to assure you that your contributions, whether for or against, will be taken into consideration as our committee sets to work.
Meanwhile, the Joint Committee on Niger Delta Affairs engaged the minister to assess the level of budget implementation and challenges. However, due to lack of necessary documents, the committee adjourned the meeting. From the National Assembly, Isa Muhammad, NTA News.
The 10th National Assembly clocked 1 year on 13th of June 2024 with various critics, some positive, others unpalatable. NTA Parliament spoke with an eminent Nigerian, Emmanuel Iwayan, on how he thinks Nigerians should assess the legislators. You're welcome, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
The 10th National Assembly clocked 1 year on the 13th of June 2024. In spite of the various achievements it listed, some persons still argue that they have not performed well. Do you agree with this?
Well, frankly speaking, they have spent only 12 months. And you know, the first few months is just exploratory. The problem is that once you're a politician, you are very vulnerable. Mark you that these members of the National Assembly contested the election with some people. And these people, some of them are still want the job. So they will still continue to criticize them and so on. I think it's not fair to continue to criticize them on everything. When you criticize people on everything, it makes it look very, very unreasonable. You see, the point about it is, now there are people if you are people from your constituency, if they are not doing well, you call them. I have those from Southeast. If I see any of them not doing well, I will call him. They meet with me. I have no problem with members of the Senate from the Southeast. I have no problem with members of the House of Reps from Southeast, because the Deputy Speaker is in touch with me. The senators that are in touch with me. So for the Southeast, I don't have any problem with them. Any of them who fails to do, I will let him. For example, when I took a decision that we should not demonstrate, it was a time we demonstrated. As a leader, I took that decision. I mentioned it to them that this is the decision I took. They support me, and they support me in most of the things. We work together. So for us in the Southeast, I think we don't have any problem. I will tell Nigerians to give them a chance. They have 4 years. But if the people who have failed their constituencies should be able to tell them, advise them what to do. For me, to be honest, they have spent practically, they have 9 months. They were sworn in, that's around June or so. And then, you see, just only 1 year they have stayed.
One of the major criticisms is on the purchase of cars for the members. Some people describe it as a waste of funds. Do you agree?
Well, people talk about, people have been criticizing them, that they buy cars, they buy this. Now, people should realize that this is a custom that was there. That was a tradition right from 1960, when we had our independence. In 1960, the longest cars were being driven in those days by politicians. In fact, most of them were driving long American cars in those days. You know, this is a tradition they inherited that time. Everybody, when we have this position, everybody will come to reality. But they inherited a situation where they needed a car. Now, they bought them bulletproof cars. The point is that in some places, they were endangered. People who kill them. There were places where some detractors could fire them and kill them. So I don't think we should worry much about their using bulletproof cars. Because that's a bulletproof. We know that there were gunmen in this country everywhere that could be hired to kill innocent people. So, but what I'm saying is that they inherited this type of structure of affluence and so on. Even in our restructuring, I don't even think a country as far as Nigeria will need a full-time House of Rep and a full-time House of Senate. I don't think we need that. You see, so that is the point. A country that is poor like we are, part of the restructuring means cutting our coat according to our size.
Thank you for your time. That was the President General of the Ohanaeze Ndigbo, Emmanuel Iwayanwu. Senate has urged the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission to protect Nigerians from exploitation by multinational companies, especially satellite service providers. This was at the screening of Olatunji Bello as Chief Executive Officer of the Commission. Ignatius Nko reports.
Olatunji Bello, presidential nominee for the position of Chief Executive Officer and Executive Vice Chairman of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, appearing before the Senate Committee on Trade and Investment for screening.
Now, as you are all aware, the purpose is to screen him so that we are sure that he's fit for this job. And we have his CV, we have his documents.
Senators demanded to know his plans for the protection of consumers in Nigeria and measures to enhance free trade and competition.
You are against anti-competition, but you are not against free trade. But at times you see them overlap. So I would like to find out what your own opinion is.
About the practices of satellite television service providers. For example, DSTV.
I do not think there is absolute free trade anywhere. So, and we must try as much as possible to ensure there is competition in our economic demonstration amongst traders. And we also need to protect the interests of Nigerian consumers. To me, first of all, we must protect the national interests.
Senators from Lagos State described the nominee as an accomplished professional and advised him to leverage on the trust the president has in him to strengthen the commission.
He's an accomplished journalist. Then in the area of public administration and public service as well, he has been at the forefront of major developments in Lagos.
The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission monitors and regulates competition, market activities, and to ensure protection of consumers. Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
We now take a break. After the break, correspondent presents a graphic history of the National Minimum Wage Act in Nigeria. Stay with us.
Are you looking for a short channel to make your business, goods and services go viral? Look no further, as NTA Parliament is your short channel. Take advantage of our wider reach and advertise your products and services on NTA Parliament DSTV channel 370, GoTV channel 126, StarTimes channel 306, and Free TV channel 706. For more inquiries, contact the Marketing Department, NTA Parliament, NTA Headquarters Area 11 Garki, Abuja, or call these numbers 080-383-40464 or 080-770-78055. NTA Parliament, strengthening Nigeria's democracy.
The federal government says it is engaging labor unions in a fair and equitable process to sustain the aspirations of every Nigerian worker. Minister of State for Labor and Employment Nkiruka Onyediocha stated this at a one-day retreat on labor reforms and the quest for living wage in Nigeria organized by the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies in Abuja. Mohammed Rabiu Ali completes the story.
Experts say effective labor administration is considered key in promoting sustainable development of any nation. It is in this line the legislature and the executive arms are working to review existing labor laws in Nigeria that will provide a conducive working environment, thereby improving workers' productivity and economic growth.
As we embark on these reforms, we are particularly focused on factories and industrial parks. These areas are critical to our industrial strategy and the well-being of thousands of workers.
These subjects, contentious and divisive as they be, has been and remains one of the most pressing issues facing the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the country at large.
It is imperative that we join forces to ensure that our labor relations system is fair, just, equitable, and equitable. However, let our bread workers be rest assured that the National Assembly stands side by side with the Nigerian people.
It is therefore imperative for the legislature to understand the process or processes of the minimum wage and its implication for workers' welfare, economic growth, and the national development of...
We knew that this year's minimum wage is going to be very difficult because negotiating wage increment in an era where you have both fiscal and monetary challenges in your economy.
It is expected at the end of the workshop, participants will have a deeper knowledge on the process of minimum wage enactment and the need for due diligence to ensure workers' productivity and economic growth. In Abuja, Muhammad Rabiu Ali, NTA News.
In April 2024, Nigeria's National Minimum Wage Act elapsed. Nigerian workers are eagerly expecting the new one to come on board, but the issue of the amount for the new wage has been a point of conflict. On the news this evening, we have Ignatius Nko with the graphic presentation of the history of the National Minimum Wage Act in Nigeria. Ignatius, thank you for joining us. Please, let's have your presentation.
Well, the issue of the national minimum wage has been topical for some time now. Well, the history of the national minimum wage can be traced to 1981 when the first national minimum wage bill was signed into law at 125 naira per month. And then in 1990, Nigeria had a second minimum wage of 250 naira. In 1999, a new national minimum wage of 3,500 naira came on board. And then in 2000, Nigeria had her fourth national minimum wage of 5,500 and 7,500 naira for various categories of workers. That was the year that Nigeria witnessed two separate amounts of national minimum wage running concurrently for different categories of workers. And in 2019, Nigeria had a sixth and currently running national minimum wage of 30,000 naira. Now, in 2024, the 2019 Minimum Wage Act has elapsed and a new one is in the offing. And that one that coming up is expected to be the seventh national minimum wage for Nigeria. And we expect that any moment from now, the National Assembly will enact the next national minimum wage. Well, the history of the review in Nigeria's national minimum wage cannot be exhaustive without the mention of the famous Udoji Award. Well, that was in 1970s when the then head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, engaged Jerome Udoji, a public servant, to head a commission on the review of workers' salaries. And that commission produced 100% wage increase for workers across board. And it was backdated and paid in 2 years arrears. And that laid the foundation for the regular wage review in Nigeria. And that's what we have for you this night on the wage review in Nigeria.
In another development, Sokoto State House of Assembly has passed a bill that seeks to repeal the State Zakat and Waqf Endowment Commission Law 2022 and to establish the State Zakat and Waqf Endowment Agency. This followed the approval of the report of the House Committee on Religious Affairs. State Assembly correspondent Nuruddin Abdullahi Adili has more.
Presenting the report on the floor of the House, the chairman of the committee, Abubakar Shehu Yabo of Yabo constituency, reminded that the executive bill received its first and second readings on June 26 and was referred to the committee for further scrutiny that led to the public hearing to obtain stakeholders' input. Yabo explained that the amendment aims to provide the collection, management, and distribution of zakat and waqf endowment in the state by the government, corporations, organizations, and private individuals. Hence, the committee came up with some recommendations that include the staff of the agency who are not civil servants, pension rights and gratitude should be entitled to not more than 1/8 of the zakat generated by the agency, and also to replace the agency with a board, among other things. The Deputy Speaker, Kabiru Ibrahim, who presided over the sitting, announced the House unanimous resolve to adopt the bill's amendment after a voice note. In a related development, the House also passed a bill to repeal Sokoto State Tenancy Control and Safety of Persons Commission Law No. 6 of 2019. The Chairman House Committee of Land, Housing and Urban Development, Shamsu Ali Wurno of Wurno constituency, stated that the amendment aims to establish the Sokoto State Tenancy Control and Safety of Persons agency that was initially a commission. After the amendment, the agency will be under the supervision of the Ministry of Justice. The bill was also unanimously adopted by the members as announced by the Deputy Speaker who presided over the plenary. From the Sokoto State House of Assembly, Nuruddin Abdullahi Adili, NTA News.
On a sad note, a member of the House of Representatives from Ibadan North Federal Constituency, Olaide Adewale Akiremi, has passed on. He died this Wednesday morning after a brief illness at the age of 51. Olaide Akiremi, who was a ranking member of the Green Chamber, served as chairman of the House Committee on Science Research Institutions. House spokesman Akin Rotimi, who announced Akiremi's passage, described him as a mentor to many first-time lawmakers. Speaker, House of Representatives Tajuddin Abbas, in a condolence message, expressed sadness over the loss of the lawmaker from Oyo State. He says the 10th Assembly will make unique contributions to nation building. He prays that the Almighty grants his family and loved ones the fortitude to bear the irreparable loss. And that's our package this evening. Join us again tomorrow, Thursday, for another bulletin. Remember, NTA stands against rape and rapists. You can follow us for news updates on our social media handles showing on your screen. Thanks for joining us. Have a great evening. I'm Amina Saidu.